Hello and welcome to Quiz Class. I'm your host, Ellen, and today we have 100 questions for the boomers. Let's begin with question number 1. We hope you enjoy it. During World War II, which magazine became popular with photo essays that gave Americans a vivid view of global events? Life, Time, or National Geographic? Life. Which 1944 film coined the psychological term gaslighting? Moonlight, Gaslight, or Flashlight? Gaslight. Who was a champion of social justice through the 1930s and 1940s and had protest songs like Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? Burton Lane, Yip Harburg, or Vernon Duke? Yip Harburg. Which organization focused on the impact of atomic bombs? Was formed in 1947. The Atomic Bomb Casualty Collective, the Casualty Commission, or the Casualty Council? The Casualty Commission. Which publication distinguished itself during World War II with in-depth international reporting focusing on peace initiatives? The Christian Science Monitor, the Christian Service Monitor, or the Christian Society Monitor? The Christian Science Monitor. Which event for artists was interrupted by World War II and resumed in 1948? Art Capital Paris, Arco Lisboa, or the Venice Biennale? The Venice Biennale. Which pageant was first televised in 1948? Miss America, Miss Universe, or Miss World? Miss America. Where is Philip Johnson's glass house, built in 1949, that became an icon of modernist transparency and minimalist design? In Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, or Connecticut? Connecticut. Who became a key figure in journalism after their 1948 testimony against Alger Hiss in the House Un-American Activities Committee? Max Eastman, Russell Kirk, or Whittaker Chambers? Whittaker Chambers. Which city was blanketed in 26.4 inches of snow and immobilized for days during the 1947 North American blizzard? Chicago, Atlanta, or New York City? New York City. During which decade did the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League reach its peak? The 30s, the 40s, or the 50s? The 1940s. What was patented by Laszlo Biro in 1938 and became widely available to the public after World War II? The ballpoint pen, permanent marker, or the gel ink pen? The ballpoint pen. What successful radio mystery shows debuted in 1942? Covert, suspense, or deceit? Suspense. What was rescued during the covert U.S. military World War II Operation Cowboy in 1945? American foxhounds, Lipizzaner stallions, or Camishan pigeons? Lipizzaner stallions. What instrument did Les Paul experiment with early versions of throughout the 1940s? Electric guitar, synthesizer, or tape machine? Electric guitar. What was Levittown, built in 1947, a symbol of? American housing, American architecture, or American engineering? American housing. Which company introduced the Hydra-Matic, the first mass-produced automatic transmission, in 1940? Ford, Jeep, or Oldsmobile? Oldsmobile. Which museum held its first retrospective of a living artist, Henri Matisse, in 1941? The Whitney Museum of American Art, the Museum of Modern Art, or the Guggenheim Museum? The Museum of Modern Art. What sport was Babe Didrikson Zacharias a pioneering female athlete of during the 1940s? Golf, tennis, or baseball? Golf. Which 1942 film was banned in Nazi Germany due to its perceived anti-hunting message? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Dumbo, or Bambi? Bambi. What were Tokyo Rose and Axis Sally during World War II? Secret resistance groups, propaganda radio stations, or government intelligence units? Propaganda radio stations. What weren't M&Ms used for in World War II? Children's morale booster, military rations, or durable candy-coated shell? Children's morale booster. Which 1950s U.S. political promoted policies of dynamic conservatism? That should be politician. Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, or Jimmy Carter? Dwight D. Eisenhower. Who promoted the concept of the collective unconscious and archetypes gained traction in the 1950s? Alfred Adler, Carl Jung, or Sigmund Freud? Carl Jung. Who was defeated at Dien Bien Phu in 1954? France, the US, or Vietnam? France. Which company developed Lycra, or spandex, in 1958? 3M, Henkel, or DuPont? DuPont. Which U.S. act in 1950 allowed for the immigration of displaced European refugees? The Displaced Persons Act, the Displaced Persons Authorization, or the Displaced Persons Agreement? The Displaced Persons Act. Which film festival introduced the Palme d'Or Award in 1955? The Toronto International Film Festival, Palais des Festivals et des Congrès, or the Cannes Film Festival? The Cannes Film Festival. Which country was admitted to NATO in 1955, marking its reintegration into Western Europe? East Germany, West Germany, or Switzerland? West Germany. Question 30. Which makeup product, popularized by Max Factor in the 1950s, became essential for TV and film? Pan cake, patty cake, or sheet cake? Pan cake. What speech did Richard Nixon deliver in 1952? The checkers speech, chess speech, or go speech? Checkers speech. Which 1950s cocktail became famous for being shaken, not stirred? Martini, Manhattan, or Mojito? The Martini. Which country gained independence from French and Spanish colonial rule in 1956? Algeria, Tunisia, or Morocco? Morocco. Which haircut did Audrey Hepburn make popular in Roman Holiday? Bob, pixie, or shag? Pixie. Which African region became a key site for hominid fossil discoveries in the 1950s? The Great Drift Valley, the Great Raft Valley, or the Great Rift Valley? The Great Rift Valley. Which international auxiliary language saw renewed popularity during the Cold War? Esperanza, Romantica, or Esperanto? Esperanto. Which car safety feature became standard after being introduced by Volvo in 1959? Airbags, seatbelts, or horns? Seatbelts. Which fashion house was reintroduced in 1954, focusing on simpler designs like the suit? Dior, Chanel, or Lanvin? Chanel. Which 1953 natural disaster promoted major changes in Dutch flood management? Baltic Sea flood, North Sea flood, or the Northern Atlantic flood? The North Sea flood. Which radio format emerged in the 50s, turning radio into a vehicle for chart-topping hits? Billboard, Top 40 Radio, or Hot 100? Top 40 Radio. Where was the shocking scene in Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 film, Psycho? Bedroom, shower, or kitchen? Shower. Which basketball player made history by scoring 100 points in a single game in 1962? Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Wilt Chamberlain? Wilt Chamberlain. Where was the Aswan High Dam infrastructure completed in 1965? Turkey, Egypt, or Iran? Egypt. Which religious institution played a central role in the U.S. civil rights movement of the 1960s? The Baptist Church, the Black Church, or the Southern Church? The Black Church. Which 1968 Beatles album featured an eclectic mix of music styles? Revolver, Let It Be, or the White Album? The White Album. What is London's Barbican estate, completed in the 60s, a prime example of? Elizabethan, Late Expressionism, or Brutalist? Brutalist. Which war began in 1961 involving independence movements in Angola, Mozambique, and Guinea-Bissau? East African Colonial War, Portuguese Colonial War, or Indian Ocean Colonial War? Portuguese Colonial War. Which 1960 car was criticized in Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed, leading to reforms? Dodge Super Bee, Ford GT40, or the Chevrolet Corvair? The Chevrolet Corvair. Which TV show debuting in 1966 drew heavily on classical mythology in its episodes? Star Trek, The Jetsons, or The Munsters? Star Trek. Which 1961 milestone in journalism saw a woman join the White House press corps for the first time? Helen Thomas's membership, Nora Ephron's membership, or Nancy Dickerson's membership? Helen Thomas's membership. Which TV, introduced in 1968, offered superior picture quality and became a bestseller? Panasonic K2110, Sharp Nintendo, or Sony Trinitron? Sony Trinitron. Which country joined the Vietnam War after the 1964 Gulf of Tonkin incident? The UK, the US, or Australia? The US. Which language was promoted as China's official language by the Communist Party in the 1960s? Cantonese, Mandarin Chinese, or Hokkien? Mandarin Chinese. Which 1960s material was popularized for its futuristic synthetic look in fashion and furniture? Viscose, rayon, or vinyl? Vinyl. Which Beat Generation poet's work, Howl, continued to stir controversy in the 1960s? Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, or William S. Burroughs? Allen Ginsberg. Which church, founded in 1954, gained followers in the 60s with messages of family values? The Nationalist Church, Federalist Church, or the Unification Church? The Unification Church. Which snack food, introduced in 1966 by Frito-Lay, became a U.S. favorite? Fritos, Tostitos, or Doritos? Doritos. Which mythologist's 1968 interviews with Bill Moyers popularized the idea of the hero's journey? Joseph Conrad, Joseph Campbell, or Joseph Cornell? Joseph Campbell. Which peak was first summited by an American team in 1963, marking a U.S. achievement? K2, Denali, then Mount McKinley, or Mount Everest? Mount Everest. Which 60s to 70s movement saw young people leave cities for rural communes? Conservation movement, back to the land movement, or ruralist movement? Back to the land movement. Which tennis match in 1973 was a major milestone for gender equality in sports? The Battle of the Ladies, the Battle of the Sexes, or the Battle of the Divas? The Battle of the Sexes. Where was the 1976 Tangshan earthquake that killed an estimated 242,000 people? China, Mongolia, or Taiwan? China. Which scientific development in 1975 laid the foundation for modern forensic science? DNA blood testing, DNA fingerprinting, or DNA reconstruction? DNA fingerprinting. Which candy introduced in the 1970s became a favorite among children for dipping? Whiz Fizz, Dip Dab, or Fun Dip? Fun Dip. Which land art installation created in 1970 became a landmark in Utah's Great Salt Lake? Snail Jetty, Spiral Jetty, or Screw Jetty? Spiral Jetty. What were the damages of the 1972 disaster Hurricane Agnes? $1 billion, $2 billion, or $3 billion? $3 billion. Which planet did the NASA Voyager spacecraft, launched in 1977, not provide unprecedented images of? Jupiter, Saturn, or Mars? Mars. Which fruit-flavored gelatin snack became a major hit among children in the 1970s? Skittles, Fruit Roll-Ups, or Starburst? Fruit Roll-Ups. Which 1970 medical imaging technology revolutionized non-invasive diagnostics? The MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, molecular imaging, or microscopic imaging? Magnetic resonance imaging. Which state did Congo gain independence from in 1960? Portugal, the Netherlands, or Belgium? Belgium. Which 1975 to 1979 genocide did the Khmer Rouge carry out? Laotian, Cambodian, or Burmese? Cambodian. Which compact car launched in 1974 became one of the most popular worldwide? The Volkswagen Polo, Volkswagen Jetta, or the Volkswagen Golf? The Volkswagen Golf. What was the Eldfell natural disaster in 1973? Earthquake, volcanic eruption, or tsunami? Volcanic eruption. Which Chicago skyscraper, completed in 1973, was the tallest building in the world at the time? The John Hancock Center, Willis Tower, or Wanda Vista Tower? The The Willis Tower, which was formerly the Sears Tower. Which German policy, pursued in the 70s, aimed to improve relations with Eastern Europe? Glaspolitik, Perpolitik, or Ostpolitik? Ostpolitik. Which agreement in the 1970s set the stage for British rule to end in Hong Kong by 1997? China-Britain negotiations, Hong Kong negotiations, or Cathay Crown negotiations? Hong Kong negotiations. What did the 1972 Cold War SALT I agreement limit for the US and the USSR? Stockpiles of nuclear weapons. Which 1970s medical technology transformed cross-sectional imaging and diagnostics? CT scans, MCT scans, or MRI scans?
CT scans. Became the first person to reach the North Pole alone in 1978. Naomi Uemura. Which candy invented in 1961 became widely available in the 70s and popped in the mouth? Nerds, Pop Rocks, or Warheads? Pop Rocks. Which era in the 1980s redefined beauty standards? Workout era, supermodel era, or bodybuilder era? The supermodel era. Which European country saw an influx of Turkish guest workers in the 1980s? The UK, Germany, or Italy? Germany. Which jubilee was celebrated by Queen Elizabeth II in 1977? Bronze, silver, or gold? Silver. Which actress solidified her Hollywood status with a 1988 American Academy Award for Best Actress in Moonstruck? Madonna, Diana Ross, or Cher? Cher. Which marine biologist known for underwater exploration set deep-sea diving records in the 1980s? Rachel Carson, Eugenie Clark, or Sylvia Earle? Sylvia Earle. Which Middle Eastern civil war, lasting from 75 to 1990, saw increased international involvement in the 1980s? The Egyptian Civil War, Lebanese Civil War, or Syrian Civil War? The Lebanese, 'Lebanese, 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 Which film festival, founded in 1978, became a major showcase for independent films by the 1980s? The Telluride Film Festival, South by Southwest, or Sundance Film Festival? The Sundance Film Festival. Which craft beer was launched in the 1980s as part of the alternative movement to mass-produced lagers? Dogfish Head Brewery, Sierra Nevada Brewery Company, or Lagunitas Brewing Company? Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. What did the 1983 U.S. Strategic Defense Initiative aim to create? A Europe-based missile defense system, a space-based missile defense system, or an ocean-based missile defense system? Space-based missile defense system. Which 1985 video game console revived the industry after the 1983 crash? Sega Genesis, Atari 7800, or the Nintendo Entertainment System? The Nintendo Entertainment System. Which African country, formerly Rhodesia, became independent in 1980? Tanzania, Botswana, or Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe. Which 1980s boom in religious broadcasting saw preachers like Jerry Falwell gain massive audiences? The 24/7 boom, televangelism boom, or talkback boom? The televangelism boom. Which product did McDonald's introduce as part of its 1983 global expansion? The Egg McMuffin, Chicken McNuggets, or Filet-O-Fish? Chicken McNuggets. Which language gained dominance in the U.S. during the 1980s due to rising immigration? Chinese, Spanish, or German? Spanish. Which 1985 discovery revolutionized the understanding of deep-sea ecosystems? Subterranean earthquakes, hydrothermal vents, or continental ridgelines? Hydrothermal vents. What was Keith Haring a key figure of in the 1980s New York art scene? Grunge art, pop art, or street art? Street art. Which drink, introduced to the U.S. market in the 1980s, became a popular choice for kids? San Pellegrino, Fanta Claire Zitrone, or Capri Sun? Capri Sun. Which 1980s books by Douglas Adams introduced Norse mythology into modern narratives? The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul, The Long Dark Unknown of the Soul, or The Long Dark Journey of the Soul? The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul. What were yuppies in 1980s society? Young urban posers, young urban professionals, or young urban proletariats? Young urban professionals. And for question 100, what does the M in the organization MAD, founded in 1980, stand for? Moms, mamas, or mothers? Mothers. And for our bonus question, what shape is the Paris landmark museum, the Louvre, completed in 1989? Let us know the answer in the comments and, of course, how well you did. Thanks for playing this quiz. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you in our next one. Bye-bye.